A well-educated engineer, George Lewis Ellis originally came to Arizona with the United States Coast and Geodetic Survey Team. He covered Arizona by car, horseback, and on foot. After working with the Bureau of Indian Affairs in California, he returned to Arizona, purchased acreage west of the Arizona Canal between McDonald and Lincoln Drives, and began building a one-room house using redwood staves salvaged from the abandoned Phoenix Verde River water pipeline. George married Rachel Murdoch, a young teacher whose father was dean of Arizona State Teachers College and later Arizona's representative in Congress. George soon designed and built 2 adobe houses on the Ellis property and drilled a well to provide water for all 3 homes. These were the first of a dozen more adobes that George built, structures that became homes for famous Scottsdale artists such as Philip Curtis and Avis Reed. Later, Avis turned her adobe into the Stable Art Gallery. The colony of artists informally called the area the West Bank. Rachel Ellis did her weaving and costume designing in the Ellis Studios while her daughter, Janie Ellis, taught and choreographed ballet. With his son, David, George built boats, race cars, hot rods, and airplanes, as well as the auto body with which Mario Andretti won the Indianapolis 500 in 1969. The custom fiberglass Caribbean Boat Company, purchased in 1960, turned out more than 100 racing boats. George and Scottsdale's second mayor, Mort Kimsey, had an adobe brickyard. There, bricks for many of the houses were made, as well as those used to build the Camelback Inn. Building and designing houses was George's passion. He built a Frank Lloyd Wright-designed house in 1940 for the Pawson sisters. Called Shiprock, it served as a backdrop for a number of fashion layouts, including one that appeared in the January 1942 issue of Harper's Bazaar. Perhaps the most creative Ellis architectural design was built in 1948 for Lois K. Maury, known as Crescent Moon Ranch on Pinnacle Peak Road. Today, this home is owned by developer Jerry Nelson. George persuaded many celebrities to choose Scottsdale for their residence. One of these was Hall of Fame cowboy and world champion trick and bull rider Dick Griffith. Ranching was another of George's prime interests, as was attempting to find ways to conserve water while still growing productive crops. In 1950, he drilled an 1,800-foot deep well at the southeast corner of Bell and Scottsdale roads and found, quote, plenty of water. He then began to experiment with sprinkler irrigation, which had not yet proven successful in Arizona. His barley, maize, cotton, flowers, tomatoes, and cantaloupe all produced well using sprinkler irrigation and less water than the conventional flood method. In 1953, when George suggested and drew plans for a golf course, clubhouse, and home sites on the land at the northeast corner of Bell and Scottsdale roads, people thought he was crazy. The Tournament Players Club sits at that site today. George was a field engineer at Williams Air Force Base, and in the early days of Scottsdale was frequently asked to assist the town's peace officer, Al Fredericks. Although not formally trained, he also filled in as veterinarian. A talented salesman, architect, engineer, designer, inventor, environmentalist, and daring visionary, we are proud to name George Ellis to the Scottsdale History Makers Hall of Fame.